Everyone, welcome to the show. So, I have some deportation and immigration news to share with you guys today. Some good, some bad, some downright ugly. So, first, the Supreme Court of the United States actually did kind of, sort of something right for once. And what I'm finding, what we're all seeing, is that Amy Coney Barrett, who was the justice that was appointed by Donald Trump, or one of them, she has actually proven she has integrity. She actually believes in the rule of law, which is shocking. She believes in the Constitution, which the other Trump appointees apparently do not. But the Supreme Court, they gave Trump kind of a partial win. So this was yesterday. They issued a ruling and they said he does have the right to invoke the Alien Enemies Act and deport people because of that act, which, for anyone who doesn't know or hasn't been following this, the Alien Enemies Act has only ever been used during times of war. It is literally to be used in case your country, the United States, is being invaded. And so they've used it to deport people who they think might be alien enemies coming from another country to cause trouble here, wreak havoc at times of war. So he is trying to use this against Venezuelans that have come here and other immigrants who he claims are illegal aliens, or, not illegal aliens, but yes, they are, in his words, they are coming into the country illegally, but he also says that they're criminals, they're gang members specifically. So in particular, he is using the excuse that, all of these people are from Tren de Aragua, which is a gang in Venezuela. So they said, yes, he does have the right to enact this and to deport people. We're going to lift the stay on that because a lower court had put a hold on that. They had temporarily restrained him from doing that. However, all 9 of the justices agreed and said Trump must use due diligence and you have to provide due process to these people, meaning that these immigrants have a right to be notified. They have to be notified in advance, and they have to be allowed a hearing before a court, before an immigration judge. They also said the individual cases, because the case that was brought before them was like a class action type of suit that involved all of the men who had been deported. The Supreme Court said in this ruling, these cases should have been brought individually, should have been filed by individual deportees in the state of Texas where they were being held, because this particular suit was filed in Washington, D.C. So, like I said, good and bad here. But the problem is, and I heard an attorney talking about this a little while ago, they didn't specify how much notice Trump has to give them. So, a reasonable person, according to this attorney, said, most cases, if somebody is going to be deported, if somebody's going to be, thrown out of the country, usually they're given weeks, maybe months, so that they can secure legal counsel, so that they can be, brought up to speed on what their rights are, so they can fill in their attorney and bring them up to speed, and notify all of their family members. We all know Trump is not a good actor in all of this. Nobody in his administration has a conscience. And so they have left the amount of time to give these people notification up to Trump and his administration. What could go wrong, right? I mean, Trump will just say, oh, well, we gave him 24 hours notice. I don't see what the problem is. So for those, who don't know what's going on, which I can't imagine, but as you probably have heard, he had deported almost 200 Venezuelan men. He dumped them in an El Salvador prison hellhole that is known for horrific human rights abuses. One of their own country's officials said this prison is so horrific The only way out of it is in a coffin. And he did this without prior warning to their attorneys. He allowed them no hearings whatsoever. So they weren't even allowed to go before a judge and make the case that, look, I am not a violent criminal. I'm not a gang member. So that's what Trump was claiming. All of these people are gang members. They're all horrific. They're the worst of the worst, is what they said. Well, we have slowly been learning the truth that the Trump administration lied. What a shocker. And then last night, I think it was last night, 60 Minutes aired an episode. They somehow obtained a list of these deported migrants, and then they did an investigation. Here is what they found.
At least 22% of the men on the list have criminal records here in the United States or abroad. The vast majority are for nonviolent offenses like theft, shoplifting, and trespassing. About a dozen are accused of murder, rape, assault, and kidnapping. For 3% of those deported, it is unclear whether a criminal record exists. But we could not find criminal records for 75% of the Venezuelans, 179 men, now sitting in prison.
So 60 Minutes reached out to the Trump administration. They asked them about this and said, what do you have to say about these men? We found that, the vast majority have no criminal record. Trump administration, we did our investigation. We confirmed they're all parts of gangs. They all have committed horrific crimes, blah, blah, blah. So 60 Minutes, kept investigating. They actually spoke with an attorney for the gay hairstylist. I think he's a hairstylist. I think he's a barber. I had mentioned this man last week. Here is what his attorney had to say, and here's what 60 Minutes found out about him when they investigated his case specifically.
Could it be possible that there is something that perhaps the government knows that you don't?
I don't think that that is possible, but if it was possible that they had some information, they should follow the Constitution, present that information, give us the ability to reply to it.
A Department of Homeland Security spokeswoman said on social media that its intelligence assessments go well beyond just gang affiliate tattoos. She said Andri's own social media indicates he is a member of Tren de Aragua. We went back a decade and could only find photos like these.
So, yeah, looks like such a violent criminal gang member, doesn't he? And the reporter who had been invited, I'm assuming by the Trump administration, to take this trip to El Salvador along with these people, along with these men, this reporter took photos and videos of these men as they were taken into custody in this El Salvador prison. And the reporter said, this Andre, this gay hairstylist and makeup artist, he was literally in tears. He was crying and saying, I am not a gang member. I'm a gay man. And he was calling for his mom. These are human beings. These are innocent human beings. And Trump has thrown them into a black hole. No one is allowed to communicate with them. They have no idea that their cases are actually being discussed at this moment. They think that they have been sent to this horrific, abusive, just unconscionable place, and they have been forgotten, that they are never going to get out, that they will take their last breath in this place. And it is filled with truly the worst of the worst criminals who are, probably assaulting them in many ways. And the Trump administration, remember, they are stonewalling the courts. They are refusing to provide even the names of these men, let alone any criminal record that they claim these men have. As Andre's attorney said, if they're guilty, show the proof, right? Just show it. What are you afraid of? It would bolster their case in court if they just actually ponied up and showed the proof of what these men did, then this would shut it down. Because I don't think any of us would care if all of these men are murderers, if they are rapists, if they are, if they've done horrific, violent, disgusting, vile crimes, nobody would care. But the fact that they don't show the proof and the evidence that they say they have, it tells you everything that you need to know. Now, unfortunately, 60 Minutes spoke with an ACLU attorney who is involved in this, trying to help get these men back. He said these men may never see the light of day. Now, the one sliver of hope is that the Trump administration has agreed to pay for these men to stay in this hellhole of a prison for a year. They told the El Salvador government, we're going to pay you for a year, paying $60 million. $60 million of our tax money is going to this cruel and inhuman treatment of mostly innocent men. The other ones, I don't care. I don't care that they're there. I will be honest with you. The ones who have actually committed violent crimes, I don't care. That's probably where they belong. But the ones who have done absolutely nothing wrong, who have children here in the United States, who have spouses, one of them who has a spouse who is a United States citizen, and who there's no evidence he has ever committed a crime, they absolutely do not belong in this place. So my hope is that, because we are just paying for a year, maybe this was just a big publicity stunt for Trump. And then maybe they will, if this can't be resolved before then, they will get them back. But it is still going to be heard by the courts. It, is still going to be adjudicated. Each of these men, their attorneys, or if they even know that they're there, they're going to be filing lawsuits, in the proper venue in Texas, and we'll see. But as I said, this ACLU attorney, here's what he had to say about why he is not sure whether or not these men will make it out.
What would you say to these families who are terrified right now about their relatives currently sitting in this prison in El Salvador? Will they ever see them again?
I hope so. But, there's a real danger that they remain there.
You're saying that there are Venezuelans who very well may have no gang ties that are right now in one of the hardest of hardcore prisons in the world that may never get out. They may never see the light of day again.
That's what I'm saying.
So this is obviously abhorrent. I just don't even know what to say. And if Trump is allowed to get away with this, then he can do this to United States citizens. If he just says, well, I have no jurisdiction in El Salvador, there's nothing I can do, can't get them back. First of all, as I've mentioned in another video today, that is complete and utter bullshit because, like I said, we're paying for this. So all you have to do is cut off the money. All you have to do is say, we're not paying you. We're going to revoke that $60 million contract and we're not paying for you to house these men. See how fast the El Salvador officials and government says, well, then we're not taking care of them. But keep this in mind. Trump and the El Salvadorian government, they both have very much a dog in this fight. They have every reason, every incentive to keep these men locked up and silent until the day they die, because they do not want the truth to come out. So these men, their lives are literally in danger. This is where we're at as the United States. So this is on every Trump voter and everyone in a swing state who refused to vote. This is on all of them. These men are being tortured because of them. And understand, like I said, it is in Trump's best interest to make these men disappear forever. Because as the saying goes, dead men tell no tales. You know, and Trump, all of his administration, these people have the nerve to call themselves Christians. If hell does exist, I know exactly where these people are going to be for all eternity because of what they're doing. You know, and now Trump has revoked, on top of this is different news that came out today. He has revoked legal status for immigrants who followed the U.S. law. Immigrants who came here, did what the United States told them to do, to put them on a path to citizenship. They signed up through the CBP One app online, which is something that the Biden administration set up. They signed up, presented themselves to Border Patrol, and said, I'm here seeking asylum, followed the rules, did not cross into the country illegally. This is not what Trump voters claim they wanted. They said, no, I want to get out the criminals. I want, the more hardliners. Well, if you came to this country illegally, you need to go. These are not people who came here illegally. The people that he just revoked protection for today, these are people who came here under legal circumstances, did everything right, and now they are being punished as well. And they will be hunted down, and they could very well be put on planes with no justification, with no due process, and shipped off to El Salvador. This is what happens when you elect and give ultimate power to a complete and total sociopath who has no conscience and who does not care about anything or anyone other than himself and his power. Trump has just laid bare, completely exposed all of the weaknesses in our country and in our Constitution. We never were set up to deal with someone like this. Our founding fathers, they may have been intelligent, they may have had a lot of foresight. They never anticipated someone like this. And then on top of it, an entire party, the entire Republican Party, being either so weak and feckless or being so utterly corrupt that they would go along with everything that this madman does and never even consider removing him, never even consider impeachment. But that is where we're at. So clearly, if this all, if this all works out somehow in the end, miraculously, we need to make a lot of changes in this country so this can never happen again. All right, guys, I will keep you posted. I'll let you know as these cases make their way through courts, but and as pretty much most of them, some of them will be going before the Supreme Court. Some of them will be adjudicated at the highest level. Others are, going to now have to start the whole process all over again. Unfortunately, in Texas or other states where they were being held, where the Trump administration knows that they have sympathetic judges. That's also where we're at. All right. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. Please like, please share, and subscribe. Please donate if you can. Love you all. Take care. Talk with you soon.